didn't see you there. Would you guys like to set sail on this ocean of flavor with me? I'll be your captain. I'm Steve Harrington.
And I'm Colin.
And I'm Whitney, and this is Scoops Ahoy, a Stranger Things podcast where we go week by week, chapter by chapter, taking a look at every single episode of Stranger Things. We have now made it through all 4 seasons, and we are in the deep, dark void as we wait for season 5, which just seems to be getting deeper and darker each week. So I did not like that interview that Caleb McLaughlin gave this past week that hinted that, you know, it would be a bittersweet ending.
Right. I think he was just speculating, though. I don't know. As tight-lipped as everybody has to be around them, I don't know. I'll make a note, though, because I'll post a link to it.
And they still say, like, sometimes I feel like they just jerk us around to, like, because they know that we're so, like, people are so invested.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I know Noah does for sure.
Yeah.
So anyways, this week we are doing our top 3 favorite episodes from season 1. Colin's going to start us off with quick recaps of the first season.
Right. And this is how we wrapped up season 1 in our season 1 recap episode. So these should sound familiar, but we'll cue the music. So chapter 1 is the vanishing of Will Byers. The party plays D&D. Will vanishes. Elle goes to Benny's. Benny is killed, and the party finds Elle. Chapter 1. Chapter 2, the weirdo on Maple Street. The party tries to figure out what to do with Elle. Jonathan goes to see Lonnie. Elle sees Will in the science fair picture. Nancy and Barb go to the pool party, where Barb promptly disappears. Chapter 3 is Holly Jolly. Barb gets sucked into the pool right at the beginning. Will starts talking through the lights. Elle has the Coke can and cat flashbacks back when she was in the lab. Steve breaks Jonathan's camera in the school parking lot. Joyce draws the alphabet on the wall, and Will's body, so we think, is found at the quarry.
I forgot about that episode.
Yes. Chapter 4, the body. Joyce goes to see Will's body in the morgue. Elle channels Will through the walkie-talkie. There's a school assembly and bullying Troy. Nancy sees the monster in Jonathan's photo and gets curious, and Hopper cuts open Will's body at the end. Chapter 5 is the flea and the acrobat. Hopper breaks into the lab. Will has his funeral. The kids ask Mr. Clark about the alternate dimensions. Hopper finds the bug in his trailer. The kids follow the train tracks to the junkyard. Elle has the Russian spy flashback. Elle force pushes Lucas and then disappears, and Nancy goes through the tree into the upside down, leaving Jonathan to yell, Nancy!
Nancy! And there's also a lot of, like, wet, like, squelching.
Squelching, yes.
And she goes
Chapter 6 is the monster. Jonathan pulls Nancy back through the gate and spends the night with her, but not that way. Joyce and Hopper visit Terry Ives. Nancy and Jonathan go supply shopping. Steve and Jonathan fight in the alley. Mike and Dustin confront Troy and James at the quarry, and Elle swoops in to save the day. Chapter 7 is the bathtub. The kids try to escape the agents on their bikes. Elle flips the van. Everyone meets at Joyce's house to plan the sensory deprivation tank. They build it at the school. Elle sees dead Barb and then Will. Hopper and Joyce go back to the lab. The Demogorgon breaks into Castle Byers right at the end. And then chapter 8 is the Upside Down, the finale for the season. Hopper and Joyce go into the Upside Down. Hopper has his Sarah flashbacks. Nancy and Jonathan set the Demogorgon trap. Steve shows up. They burn it. The kids are tracked down at the school by Brenner. Elle explodes all their brains and then blows up herself and the monster. Hopper and Joyce find Will and bring him back to life. And at Christmas, Will coughs up a slug. So there's season 1 in a nutshell.
It was really hard to pick.
Yeah, it was really hard. I mean, I've always said the bathtub.
I knew what yours would be. But a lot of it too is just like the scenes from certain episodes that I'm like, oh, just that one scene makes it like almost my favorite, you know,
Right.
like where you realize like where Hopper cuts open the body, and it's like so shocking because, you know, everybody thought Will was dead.
Right. Well, so I mean, I ranked my top 3, and my third one is Holly Jolly, and it's strictly because of
Yep.
and it's just that one scene. I mean, there's a lot of other good stuff in the episode, but that's when I think of Holly Jolly, that's what I think of. So that was my number 3. My number 2 is the Upside Down, just because it's just a great finale, a great way to wrap up the season. I just loved it. And then my number 1, obviously, is the bathtub. It's got the, if anyone asks, I've left the country line, Lucas finally coming around and understanding Elle. Some great lines by Ted, including, what happened to her hair when they show her the picture of Elle,
Right.
showing the picture of Elle.
Why is that your concern, Ted?
And then when they're staring out the window and it's like, this is the government, they're on our side, which is hilarious. And then the Fairmart scene with Tommy and Carol, which is really, really good. The whole bit with Dustin and Mr. Clark and keeping the curiosity door closed and how do you build a sensory deprivation tank. And then we get the really nasty Barb in the void, the black world. And then the ending shot with, Will in Castle Byers, and then, the monster comes swooping in. And it was so funny, I had completely forgotten, but it ends and there's no music over the end credits. It's just kind of squelchy kind of, stuff. So those are my three. So Holly Jolly at number 3, Upside Down number 2, and The Bathtub at number 1.
Well, we had almost identical lists because I have Holly Jolly as number 3 and The Upside Down as number 2. But my reason for Holly Jolly, it's funny because I do love the RUN run scene. But when I think of Holly Jolly, I think of Barb getting eaten at the end.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah. Like that's the only thing I think of. And I remember being horrified at her like trying to get back up in the pool.
The pool ladder, yeah.
Yes, and I really it ties into Jaws so much, and I'm terrified of Jaws just in general, of sharks.
Right. Sure.
So that feeling of trying to get up out of something and something being below you is just so like unsettling to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so
cool.
Number 3 was Holly Jolly. Number 2 is The Upside Down, just for a million reasons. It's Steve, completing his arc. It's Will getting rescued. It's the Ego scene at the end. It's just, I love it.
And the Moby song, when it's cold, I'd like to die.
And it makes me real mad because there's no song that has any right to make you feel that depressed,
right?
Unless it's like, I don't know, like the Christmas Shoes song, which is just awful.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
It is. And it's so funny because I never really hear it on the radio anymore because we have our local,
they play it here every now and then.
And I never hear it anymore. But did you see Patton Oswalt's thing about it? Oh, no. It's so funny. It's not really appropriate. So Littles, close your ears, but I'll put a link up to it. Nobody will have any idea why I'm linking to this and why we're on this episode, but it's so funny.
And if they don't know what the Christmas Shoes song is, it's it just don't even bother listening to it. You'll just want to lay in bed the rest of the day and knock
it's so ridiculous. Yeah.
It's awful. But my number 1 is actually the pilot, and it is The Vanishing of Will Byers, because I knew there was something special the first time I watched it. And I loved that I didn't have any background going into it.
Yeah. And I actually had it. That was my original number 3. And I was like, by that much. And then I realized that by the time I got to Holly Jolly, that's when I kind of started getting into it, because I kept watching the first 2 episodes over and over again and not really getting into it.
Which, why would that?
This is all well documented. We know all this. That's okay. We know. But yeah, by the time I got to Holly Jolly, and I don't remember what it was, if there was a particular moment in it or something, or if it was just the RUN, maybe. Yeah. In Holly Jolly. So maybe it was the RUN, and I'm like, okay, now I'm hooked.
Well, that's just odd, because I feel like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Never mind. I take it back, because the first one is really scary.
I'm a little wussy, so who knows?
Yeah. So those are my number 1s.
Okay, so I went through and I looked up, just on like Ranker and Looper and stuff to see how they ranked them, and most of them, they're ranked all the episodes from all the seasons. So you can't really tell, they didn't go season by season, but. As far as season 1 episodes go, The Upside Down, the last episode, always actually ranked on Ranker and Looper and Stacker, and as IMDb, people rankings, ranked number 1. And then The Bathtub was number 2 in most of them, and Holly Jolly was right up there, and The Body was right up there too. So episode 4. So most people, the professionals and the critics and those kind of people all said The Upside Down. So there you go.
Wow. I feel like the finale's ranked the highest on IMDb in every season.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Except for maybe season 2. No, I still think it is.
No, season 2, I think. Yeah, because that had the snowball and everything in it. So
yeah. Okay. Are you ready for emails?
Let's do some emails.
All right. I'll take the first one that gets read this week. Who knows who's not getting read? It's from Eve, and she says, "Hi, Colin and Whitney. Hope you're both doing okay. Normally, I'd say top 3 is really hard, but I know exactly what's lined up for me from season 1. So in a way, it's better. Without further ado, my top 3 episodes from the season that we will never forget. Season 1, The Upside Down. She loved it because it was emotional, dark, and she loved the Eggo cliffhanger. She said it had her sobbing for a week with hope. Number 2 was The Weirdo on Maple Street. She loved it. The mystery really deepened. And she said, I still remember watching it for the first time, being fascinated with Brenner's role. I must have had about 100 thoughts in my head about who he was. Again, such an iconic episode, especially when you think of that D&D board getting flipped over, which is the first hint to the Upside Down. And her number 1 is, like Colin, the bathtub. She said, something strikes me about this one as a fan favorite for so many reasons. But for me, this is number 1 for the van flip, the bike chase, the homemade sensory deprivation tank, and of course, the interruption of Scott Clark's date. Who knew that guy was such a romantic? Winning over by explaining the stunts from classic horror films? Hell, I need my own Mr. Clark. Feel like Colin would have been besties with Scott. You could chat about camera angles all day with no one to interrupt you. Yeah, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
But yeah, they're watching The Thing on their date of all things, and he's sitting there explaining how it's like melted bubblegum and stuff. So
yeah, that's a really gross movie too.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, The Bathtub is always one of my most recently watched. It's always downloaded on my phone, ready for the school run. It is for me one of the best episodes in Stranger Things and always will be. Well, guys, I hope you had a great couple of weeks. And as always, thanks so much for this podcast. As usual, love from the UK, Eve.
Thank you, Eve. Next one's from Harry. Hey, Colin and Whitney. My third favorite is Chapter 7, The Bathtub. So Harry's dead to me now, but that's okay.
Guess Harry's not getting read next week.
No. It has my favorite line from the whole show, which is, if anyone asks, I've left the country. It also shows all 3 storylines coming together, which was incredibly satisfying. Plus Joyce being a mom for 11, something she's never had before. Second favorite is Chapter 5, The Flea and the Acrobat, which was also, it was very close to my list.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment early in the episode when Hopper is exploring the infested parts of Hawkins' lab, while there's a voiceover of Dustin reading about the Veil of Shadows. When my wife saw that, she said, I would watch this show again. Ordinarily, she hates binge watching and rewatching things, so this was a big thumbs up, and I was happy she was happy. Plus, the episode ends with Nancy crawling into that snot hole in the tree for the love of her friends. So good.
Oh, that's a great description.
It is
snot hole.
It's a snot hole, yeah. My favorite episode is still my favorite episode in the whole show, Chapter 4, The Body.
Really?
The performances in this show are always great, but this episode really stands out. Jonathan standing on the street with tears streaming down his face while Joyce insists that her son is in the lights is heartbreaking. All the things Hopper does to psych himself up to cut into Will's fake body, it all felt very grounded and real because great actors were given the space to do their thing. That's it. Thanks for continuing the show. And if once a month is a schedule that works better for you guys during this long hiatus, that works for me too. I'm also looking forward to the character deep dive on the motel lady from season 2.
It'll probably happen, Harry.
We're going to have to at some point. Yeah.
We're going to have to do everybody in the show. I mean, we might even get to like Tommy and Carol at some point because
talk about Carol's redemptive arc over.
But it's funny. He says his wife doesn't like rewatching and binge watching stuff. Do you rewatch a lot of stuff?
No, I mean, other than obviously Stranger Things, but no. I very rarely will watch a movie again just because I watch so many of them.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because there's always something new to watch, so I'm always.
Yeah, I've read it's like a comfort thing. It's like anxiety inducing for me to watch a new show because I don't know what's going to happen. But if I'm watching something I've seen before, which is why I have I turn on, Stranger Things and the Umbrella Academy all the time. They're always in my continuing.
Well, yeah, I'll always flip them on and stuff. But yeah, I'll rewatch. My friend Betsy was saying that she watches all the where the crawdads sing all the time, just because it's just it's just kind of.
God, that's depressing.
It is depressing, but it's it's just kind of. But that got me going because I like every once in a while I'll turn on one of those fluffy Nicholas Sparks things like Safe Haven or something like that just to not even think about it, or like a Hallmark movie or something just to have it on. Yeah,
my comfort movies are all horror movies.
Yeah. That's very comforting to me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can pop in a horror movie if I can't sleep. I'll get up at 2 a.m. and pop in a horror movie at
Sure.
downstairs.
Or Back to the Future. I'll do Back to the Future.
I do Back to
anytime
the
it's on.
Future a lot. I do Indiana Jones.
Especially
a lot.
the third one. I really like the third Back to the Future.
Oh, I usually do
for some
number
reason.
one, but
Yeah.
all right.
I think, War Games is always on. I've watched War Games like a dozen times in the
Do
past
you know I've
month.
never sat through that whole movie? Like
Oh,
I've
it is
never
so
watched
good.
it from start
Yeah.
to finish.
Yeah, it's always on for some reason, and it's always like Saturday afternoon, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, let's watch.
Like I can't turn it off.
Watch some more War Games. Yeah. So.
All right. Our next email is from Harriet. She says, "Hi, Colin and Whitney. I'm glad my email got read. It was really, really hard to pick my favorite episodes of season 1, my second favorite season. But for what's her first favorite season? I think it's 2,
No,
maybe 4.
I was gonna say
Harriet,
3.
remind me.
Yeah, remind us what your favorite season was. I would have guessed 3, but I'm not sure.
But for the top 3, I would say 1, 5, and 7, which are
The pilot, the Vanishing of Blue
the
Bottles.
Pilot,
Yeah, and
number
5 is
5,
the Flea and the Acrobat.
and Acrobat, and
And
number
7's the
7
Bathtub.
the Bathtub.
Yep.
So the Vanishing of Will Byers, she says, because number 1, 5, because wait, what? Harriet,
Number 1
what?
because it's number 1. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Number 1 because it's number 1. It's like the first show of that season of the series.
Of the series.
5 because I really like the story, and also Mr. Clark explaining everything is the best. I want him as my science teacher. I think everybody wants.
Yeah,
Clark.
I would kill to have him as my science teacher. Yeah.
And 7 because of the most epic van flip. That's all I got. Love, Harriet. Yeah, the van flip is good. It's very. What's that shot like? What does it remind you of?
I don't know. It's just still trips because I watched it again, and it still trips me out that Brenner is more concerned about watching kids bike away down the hill than the 2 people that are obviously dead in this van.
Yeah, he did not care. He was
Okay,
just like,
yeah,
casualties.
No, is it supposed to remind me of something or?
No, but I feel like it should. Yeah, I feel like it should, but it doesn't. Like I'm like, is there?
You're not quizzing me. You're asking me.
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't know.
I can't think.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to Skipper Melody.
Okay.
Hey, Colin and Whitney. Okay, here are my top episodes. Number 3 is episode 6, The Monster. The starting sequence with Jonathan and Nancy in the woods. Nancy is one of the main reasons I will ship Jancy forever. Jonathan is so respectful of her, and I respect that. I think she's talking more about when they go back to her house, but still.
Yeah.
Nancy. Them buying monster hunting supplies and then telling the shopkeeper that and him just shrugging it off is hilarious. The quarry scene where 11 saves the boys, enough said. 11 getting her Eggos, enough said again. And Joyce and Hopper teaming up to go find Terry Ives sets up even more questions about 11's history that really gave the Duffer Brothers a window for further explanations later on. Number 2 is the Upside Down, Steve Redemption, Steve Bat Twirl, in all caps.
Bat twirl.
Yeah, the bat flip. The 11 kiss and asking her to the snowball, which was adorable.
Mm-hmm.
The first look at all of our characters going into different teams to take care of one specific aspect of the big problem. And then When It's Cold, I'd Like to Die by Moby when they get Will, but seem to have lost 11. And then the end sequence during Christmas when they played a version of Carol of the Bells, which is one of my favorite Christmas songs. It's also one of my favorite Christmas songs. And it made me love the show even more. And the fact that Hopper left Eggos for 11 made me so curious as to how he knew she was out there. And then
we
finally,
still don't know the answer to that.
Right.
Like we still don't know if he made a deal. There's a million questions I have about that.
Absolutely. And then finally, Hopper's backstory with Sarah informs his actions through the entire season and his knowledge of how to help Joyce. And then Skipper says her favorite episode is Holly Jolly. The entire episode speaks to me on a musical level, first and foremost, with the introduction of One Blink for Yes by Kyle Dixon. Play in the background. This is it. And Michael Stein, Kyle Dixon, Michael Stein, and then also Peter Gabriel's Heroes during the end sequence. I can sink into this episode of Stranger Things and feel completely immersed. And oh yes, One Blink for Yes possibly was and still is my favorite original track made for Stranger Things.
Really? Kids is mine.
Yeah, I love Kids. The Christmas lights, Skipper says, made me feel a strange comfort the first time I watched the show. It made me get over the fear I had initially. Maybe that's what it was, because maybe Skipper and I are in the same way.
Oh, yeah.
The Christmas lights. It's like, oh, Will's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy finally developing her character past being Miss Perfect, and then Hopper going detective mode with the security cameras in the lab. See you on the flip side, Skipper Melody.
Okay, but I have a question because you both love Carol of the Bells.
Yes.
Don't you think it's kind of a creepy Christmas song? kind of got like an ominous.
Yeah, it's not bright and cheerful, but I love it.
I feel like it's because they play it in a lot of Christmas horror, maybe.
Oh, that could be, yeah, because it is kind of twinkly and kind of
Like
it's
very.
it's a minor key too, which doesn't.
Yeah, it kind of gives me bad feelings.
But I have a Christmas playlist on Spotify when the holidays roll around, and I have 20 versions of Carol of the Bells on it. Yeah,
I can't. I don't even get into Christmas music
except for Christmas shoes. But yeah,
not even that. That's the worst. So, all right, our next email is
buy these shoes.
Oh God, so terrible. Like, who sat down and thought, I'm gonna write this song and I want it to be a Christmas song.
I remember hearing it the first time, and I'm like, what am I listening to? And then it took I don't know how long it took for Patton Oswalt to do his thing, but it's so funny. It's so raunchy,
I don't even remember the whole story. It's just the kid's going to buy shoes for his mom and she dies.
Yeah, his mom is dying, so he has to go buy shoes because he wants her to look beautiful if she meets Jesus tonight.
Yes.
So he gets there and he doesn't have the money. And it's told from the point of view of the guy behind the kid in line. So he has to step up and pay for the shoes. And it was his little Christmas, bit of goodwill that he does for this poor little kid. Yeah.
God, it's awful.
It's so
It's also that other one. There's another, sorry, we're off on a tangent, but I can't help it. There's another one about the people that meet in the grocery store.
Oh, Old Lang Syne. Yeah, the same old Lang Syne. Dan Fogelberg. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also depressing.
Yeah, something in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was snowing Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Sorry. All right.
Okay.
Our next email is from Tori. She says, hey, it's Tori again. Hello, everyone. I'm writing this day of Steve deep dive because I've got next week packed with marching band. And then the week I need to send the email, I'll be at camp with no Wi-Fi and no phones allowed. So I'll cut. I know. It is like when Evie would go to camp, it would be like, can't take my phone. So I'll cut right to the chase. I could go back to crocheting my potato. Tori, what are you doing?
I'm imagining she's actually crocheting a potato, but I don't know if that's a lovely euphemism for something. It's going to be.
Are you making a sweater for your potato or are you crocheting an actual potato?
I've got to be crocheting an actual potato, right? But I love it. I'm going to love that as a euphemism for something. I don't know what it's a euphemism for, but
I don't either.
No, I'm just crocheting my potato.
I really crochets my potato. Okay. All right. Her top three. Number 3 is the bathtub. She said, this is an amazing episode because I absolutely love the montage of Lucas and Dustin trying to set up the kiddie pool for Elle. I also love that Jonathan wants to go help with Hopper, but then has to figure out his own way to help. Number 2 is the body. It absolutely scared me when I thought that Hopper cut open Will's body. I knew the second that his knife went in, it wasn't.
Right.
It just
yeah.
And then the sound it makes when he pulls the knife down.
Yep.
Anyways, I was preparing for the fake, but looks real guts to fall out of his body. Then a huge sigh of relief when I saw the stuffing, and then a huge gasp that Will is alive. I know. We all knew. We were like, yeah, see, she's not crazy. And number 1, the disappearing of Will Byers, of course. Why wouldn't the episode that got me into the show be my top 1? I love the mystery of how Will disappeared and if Will will ever be seen again. But my brother, the one who doesn't like Stranger Things, left instantly right after Will got taken by the Demogorgon. What?
That was quick.
Did it scare him or was he just like, nah, this isn't for me?
I at least made it past that.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, thanks for the amazing podcast. P.S. I really miss Colin moments when I got to learn so much about the past. Plus, I really like to impress adults by telling them how much I know about the 80s, especially when it comes from a 13-year-old. Have a wonderful day, Munson out. Yeah, we might have to just start incorporating them back in.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today. Like when we start this, like when the show actually starts up again, I'm gonna have to go back and remember all the because I know we did music and Colin moments and things and tire screeches and
because I'm trying
all kinds of movie references.
We started this in July of 2021.
2021, yes, yeah.
So we had to wait a year. Almost a year.
Yeah, because we were killing time before season 4 started. So we did 1 through 3. And we started out, and the more we went, the more little things we added. Because I remember in season 3, I think I started adding like tire screeches, like all the times that cars spin out and stuff.
Yeah.
And we did
and all my memories on Time Hop, it keeps coming up with like screenshots I had taken
Oh, okay, yeah.
of the episodes and stuff
Yeah.
when they first came out. And it's just like, man, I miss
Yeah.
I want it to get here because I want to know what happens, but I'm gonna be I feel like I'm gonna be real depressed when it's over.
Right.
Like this show has consumed so much of my life.
I know, right?
So
Okay, next one is from Ellie. I know you've all been waiting for it just to laugh at me. So here we go. Hey, Colin and Whitney. First off, you kind of butchered my name and kind of didn't. So that's good at least.
Maybe.
It was actually the version you said the most, with the E's both sounding the same and the I being as in. I've sent a recording and here it is.
Hey, Colin, Whitney. Yeah. So basically, you did get it right quite a few times, but then you just kept guessing. My name is actually Eleni. Well, with the accent, it would be Eleni. And I think Colin was the one who said it the most. I'm not even sure if Whitney said it at all. But anyway, bye.
So yeah, not too far off. She says Colin said it a few times, actually. I think you did too, but I said it like 100 different ways. So yeah.
You had to get it right at some point.
Yeah. I also find it weird, so weird that people don't know what a name day is. I guess it's just a Greek thing because the only people I've mentioned it to that knew what it was were fellow Greeks. Anyway, to answer your question, we do get named the day we're born, and we celebrate our birthdays like everyone. A name day is a day that is allotted to a saint, and then that day is kind of that saint's day. So if you're named after that saint, you have your name day, and everybody wishes you happy name day and stuff. I can find no use for it, except it might be useful for the people you know. They get a free suite. So you don't even get stuff on your name day. Other people get stuff.
But what if you're not named after a saint? You just don't have a name day?
I guess you don't have a name day. Or everybody's named after saints of some kind. I don't know.
How many saints are there to go around?
Ellie, let us know.
Yes. I'm learning more and more about Greek culture every time she emails it.
She says, I don't know if that makes absolutely any sense, but it's the best I can do. And now to my top 3 favorite episodes. Number 3, episode 8 is The Upside Down. As a season finale, I think it's pretty obvious why it's a good episode, and I don't know how else to explain it. You don't have to. Number 2 is The Bathtub. I really like the storyline in that episode. I love everything that comes with it. And then number 1, says Ellie, is Holly Jolly. I just like this one better than all the rest of the episodes in season 1. I feel like it's the most lighthearted episode. It has a lot of Mike and Elle, and their friendship is so precious. By the way, on the 4th, it's one of my best friend's birthdays. She's taking us to an escape room, and then we're going to go eat. She turns 14, and I'm still over here being 13 till November. Oh, well, what can we do? I also have a pen friend, like sending actual letters, who lives in Ohio, and I'm going to meet her in June. Eek, I'm so excited. So Sophia, if you're listening, Ellie said this. She said in her last letter that she would check out the podcast. So hi to Sophia from Ellie and from us.
Yeah.
Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ellie. Next up, we've got Maya from Dubai. She said, hey guys, how you doing? It's been so very long since I last emailed. I'm so sorry for your ears that you had to listen to my things you would change list. I was so cringe back then, and I don't know what was going through my head. Anyways, I'm on my couch scanning through all the episodes in season 1, and I've decided my top 3 list. It goes from the least to most. Here you go. Number 3 is episode 6, The Monster, because it shows that the Upside Down is like an easily accessible place, and you don't need to be abducted to go there. Shout out to Will. Every time my lights flicker, I think.
The Demogorgon's coming?
Yeah. I'm like, what if it's on the other side? We don't know.
What if that is what's happening?
Yeah. Number 2 is episode 3. It's Holly Jolly, because who can forget the Are You In? Colin can't. Number 1 is episode 7, The Bathtub, because I absolutely love Dustin's line, Mike, I found the child patty. Okay, thanks. Bye, Maya.
Okay, here we go. Sophie D with the trivia. But first, hey guys, it's me, Sophie, again. So my favorite 3 episodes of season 1 are definitely episode 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street, because that's the episode we first see the group get together and Eleven finally finds someone she can trust. I also love episode 4, The Body. I think it's so suspenseful and I just love it. I also love episode 7, The Bathtub, because it's such a classic episode and it's so fun to rewatch. Okay, now for some trivia. You guys got 100% last time. I thought it'd be fun to do some season 1 trivia because that's what this episode is all about. So, number 1, what horror movie poster does Jonathan's dad, Lonnie, make him take down?
Evil Dead.
I thought The Thing at first, but then I was watching the episode and I remember The Thing was in Mike's basement. So yes, it's the Evil Dead.
Which, are you a fan of Evil Dead? Probably not.
Not really. I mean, I've seen it, But I
Have
mean,
you seen-
it's so campy, it's not, I'm not really, scared by it or anything.
No, well, the first one I feel like is very unsettling.
Is
With
that the first one?
tree, with the tree.
Is that the
It's
first
called
one?
Evil Dead. Yeah.
Okay.
Evil Dead 2. And then there's Army of Darkness, which is 3. And
Okay.
then they rebooted it, which those are just like straight horror.
Okay.
There's one that just came out called Evil Dead Rise. And I literally couldn't, and I love horror, but I had to turn away from the trailer because someone takes a cheese grater to someone else's leg.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
it makes me tense up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
real
yeah.
bad.
Okay. So I think we both got that one right. Number 2, when Joyce buys another phone from the store, what brand of cigarettes does she also request from her boss?
Oh, I know this one because I say it all the time.
It's
It's how she
Camels,
says
yeah.
it.
And a
Yeah.
pack of
And a pack of
Camels.
camels.
And a pack of Camels. Yeah. Number 3, what fake name does Eleven use when she goes to the school with the gang? So this is when they want to go and before the assembly.
Yes.
So she's
Eleanor.
getting ready to say 11, but Mike
Yes.
answers Eleanor for her. So she kind of becomes Eleanor. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. Number 4, how many boxes of Eggos does 11 steal from the store? And this was the only one. Well, this one and the next one, I wasn't 100% sure on. I can picture it because she's got
Yes.
arm full
I
of
think
Eggos.
it's 5.
It's got to be more than
3,
like
4, 5.
it's not 2, 3. It's got to be 4 or 5.
No,
So
It's,
I'm gonna
I
guess.
think it's 5 because
gotta
there's
be
3
5.
on this side and then 2 sticking out on
Yeah.
that side.
I think it's 5 too.
Are you gonna
5
look it
also.
up?
I think it's 5 also. No, we'll let her tell us next week.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
all right.
And then number 5, where does Hopper find the bug that Hawkins' lab placed in his house? Now I remember him tearing literally everything up, from the couch to the wall to the light to the phone. And I want to say it's the phone, but then he calls his ex-wife later. So I don't think it's the phone. So I'm thinking that maybe it's the light on the ceiling, like the overhead light. I think.
I think that's at Joyce's house. I think his is in the bathroom. No, wait.
I don't remember him going
His
into the
is in a
bathroom.
lamp. His is in a lamp.
Like a table lamp, like a.
Yes. Yes. And Joyce is in a ceiling lamp, is in a
Okay.
ceiling light.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. You have to tell
Okay.
us next week, Sophie. But
Yeah. Yeah. My gut instinct was the phone, but then I realized that he uses the phone in the next scene to call his ex-wife. So
yeah, I'm almost positive it's in a lamp because I remember seeing, like, in my head, I can picture the prom.
it's always in a lamp in every show. So would make
It's
sense.
in a lamp
certainly.
or a phone. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's all for today. She says, I can't wait to see how you guys do. From Sophie.
All right. Next up, we have Quinn. Quinn says, "Hey, Colin and Whitney, it's Quinn. I'm not a regular listener with school and everything, but I go through phases with podcasts. I just want to say I love your podcast first off and start with a few other things. I'm 13. I don't have social media. That's for when I'm 16. Good on your parents, Quinn.
There
And
you
I
go.
don't know much about the podcast in general. But anyways, top 3 episodes of season 1. First, I also want to say season 1 is probably the one I've watched the least. I didn't like it much compared to season 2 and 3. When I first watched it, I was 10. Also, this winter break, I decided to do a Stranger Things marathon starting from season 4, episode 9. That lasted until season 4, episode 3, and I never made it to season 1. So did you go backwards, Quinn?
Yeah, it sounds like it's going backwards, maybe, or maybe it's a typo. I don't know.
Anyways, top 3 episodes. Number 3 is episode 4. I love how the party gives Eleanor the makeover and how Mike has no idea of how to do makeup or has any idea of how to do makeup. Number 2, episode 5, it's all Mr. Clark. We all wish we had he was our science teacher in middle school because he's just amazing. Also, I think that's when Dustin complains about the fake Bulls wafers.
Nilla wafers. Nilla wafers. I think that's a typo because he was said these aren't real Nilla wafers. Remember at the little table?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fake Nilla wafers at the funeral, and I love Dustin too. Number 1, drum roll, please. Episode 8. It's complete chaos. There's Christmas lights, and I love Christmas. I've been listening to Christmas music for a week now, and it's only May 26th. I am that person. Oh, Quinn. No, I could not. Yeah. Also, Steve tries to be a good person. It still makes me mad that he just sits in his stupid sweater with his arm around Nancy near the end because I don't like him much in season 1, but we all know that he matures a bit in the next 3 seasons and makes up for being a douche. I also want to say that I started my Stranger Things journey on good old February 14th, 2020. I was sitting in my grandparents' living room in their white chair in the corner. I was 10 years old, so naturally I covered my eyes when Steve and Nancy had their moments. But when it came to episode 3, the TV turned off because of me in the remote. When the Christmas light said run, I freaked out and didn't sleep that night. I didn't watch any more of the show until a show until quarantine, but I fell in love with it. Anyways, I know I didn't say everything I wanted to, but sorry for the long email and thanks for reading it. Also, I'm from Iowa. One time, a Minnesota native thought Iowa was a part of Mexico. Please know where it is, even if it's at most a toilet stop on your way to Disneyland.
I do know where Iowa is.
It's like the exact opposite direction of Mexico.
Mexico, yeah. That's a little strange, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next email is from Holly. She just sent in. Well, she didn't send in. She told me over dinner.
She yelled it from the other room.
That's my top 3 episodes. Our number 3 is Holly Jolly. It's got to solely because it's named after her. I'm assuming.
No, it isn't.
Number 2, she said the bathtub, and number 1 was the Upside Down. So she flipped mine, or flipped from what I did.
Yeah.
Yep. Next one is from Doug. Hey, Whitney and Colin, here we go. I nerded out on this a bit. I wanted to mention that my gut reaction before I took a closer look was Holly Jolly, but no, it just had some really intense moments. RUN and the whole ending with Peter Gabriel's Heroes. After further review, my top 3 are number 3, the Upside Down. To me, Hopper and Joyce walking through the Upside Down is a bit slow until they find Will, but Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan battling the Demogorgon is always super fun, and the scenes with the kids in the school are wonderful. And then he also mentions the first kiss, the chocolate pudding line. My favorite line of the series, which is Lucas saying "eat shit" when they were in the hallway with the executioner Connie Fraser.
Yes.
11 eyeball melting all the goons, which is right after Lucas said that. And then I also think he says Finn nails the acting when 11 is gone after destroying the Demogorgon. It always breaks my heart. Number 2, he says the weirdo on Maple Street. After looking back, I noticed how much this episode does to set the tone for the entire series. It has a great opening scene that sets the friend dynamics of Mike being sweet to 11, learning about Hopper's daughter, giving him an instant depth as a character in just one line of dialogue. Yeah, that scene it's tough. Yeah. The first Eggos and bad people line. Nancy showing her strength and decency, approaching Jonathan as he posts the flyer. Joyce buying the phone on credit and a pack of Camels. Mine slamming the door in the first nosebleed. 11 explaining the Upside Down by flipping the Dungeons and Dragons board, which was really good. The first light flickers and the Demogorgon on the wall. And of course, the whole party at Steve's. Barb disappears and the 2 best needle drops in the series with I Melt With You and Hazy Shade of Winter.
Yeah. Hazy
and then he says this is the first episode that got my attention, but after this episode, I said, whoa, this show is awesome. And then he wraps up by saying number 1 is the bathtub. Yay. The best opening scene in the series, still pretty, is the quote when Elle is asking and Mike says, yes, still pretty, very pretty. And then Mike's line, if anyone asks, I've left the country, the van flip, friends don't lie, and the handshake, iconic. Hopper puts together all the pieces of the puzzle and Steve makes the face turn and tells off Tommy and Carol. The whole bit with Lando and the bus with the kids, calling Mr. Clark, why are you keeping this curiosity door locked, from Dustin. And then everything with the kiddie pool. We see this editing and direction repeat every season. And then finally he says and how the Demogorgon gets Will. This is the episode I rewatch the most, but admittedly, I usually start with the quarry scene at the end of the previous episode. Maybe that's cheating. Oh, well. Can't wait to hear what everyone else thinks. Thanks from Doug in Buffalo. So that wraps up the emails from people talking about their favorite episodes, but we do have a couple late emails talking about other stuff, so we can get going into those.
We'll go into those. We've got Sophie G. She says, hi, Whitney, Colin, and all the listeners. Long time no speak. It's Sophie here once more. Sorry for not writing in what feels like ages. I am heavily involved in athletics, and we had the county championships on. I was training literally every other day. It was insane. I came in first in the 300 meter. Hold on. I came first in the 300 meter though. So I guess hard work does pay off. And now I have, what is it? The Leinster
championships going on?
She said, I haven't had a day's break. Anyway, as I wasn't able to write in the funniest scenes, I'd like to quickly tell you all about one that no one mentioned. In season 1, episode 2, when the boys are questioning 11, Lucas tries to explain what friends are and starts telling her about spit swears. He spits on his hand and shakes Dustin's. Dustin is not happy about this, and he can be seen shaking the spit off his hand and rubbing his hand on his top in the background for the rest of the scene. It makes me chuckle every time.
That's a good one. It's a sneaky one, but yeah, it's a good one.
Yes. All right. And then she gave us some of her top moments or things she loves about Steve Harrington.
Right.
And she said going from season 1, she absolutely hated him with a burning passion. He was mean. And every time she watches him drop Jonathan's camera, she gasps. Season 2, he was so fun in this season. He really loves Nancy. Is heartbroken when she jumps up with him. All the railroad chats with Dustin are pure comedy gold. He's such a good friend to Dustin. And he's also really accepting when he saw Nancy with Jonathan. In season 3, Steve in this season was amazing. So accepting of Robin, so fun. Still so nice to all the kids, especially Dustin. Their handshake was adorable. He was actually incredible this season. This is my favorite season. And she also said it's her favorite Steve season.
Yeah, it was kind of his season. Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of, yep.
Season 4, Steve was amazing in this yet again. His character has only gone up for me. They left so many Stancy possibilities here. His nugget speech was brilliant. I really hope that Stancy happens in season 5. That's all I have to say about Steve, my second favorite character. Bye for now, Sophie, which I did a poll on our Instagram
Oh,
to see who our audience preferred, Stancy versus Jancy, and Stancy won by a mile.
really?
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Huh.
I totally thought people were more for Jancy, but maybe I'm just out of touch.
I'm Stancy. So
I'm Stancy.
Yeah.
But we're old.
that's true. We are. Okay. Next email's from Gina. Hello, Whitney and Colin. I was 2 episodes behind, so I didn't know about the Steve deep dive until the night before you dropped it. But in case you need to fill some airtime at some point, here are my thoughts on Steve. We have a lot of airtime to fill. Warning, though, it's long. So here we go. I did not like Steve very much in season 1, like most people, but I didn't find him bad when he went to genuinely apologize to Jonathan and then went back to save Nancy and Jay. My heart grew 3 sizes for him. By the time he steps up to help Dustin and care for the kids in season 2, I was ready to fight Jonathan and Billy for him. I also put him on my dreaded I love him. He isn't a main character death watch list. I wish we could see him interact with his parents once before the show ends. Steve suffers a lot physically in the show as well, and I feel like I mentioned, yeah, it does a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like I mentioned of the toll of what's happened to him since the fight with Jonathan to almost getting choked out by otherworldly vines would be nice. There's a group of us online that are always just, let Steve Harrington have a breakdown and cry one time, duffers. Sometimes I feel like they only let certain characters feel and work out their trauma, and the rest just magically deal. A lot of shows do this. But it would be great if they just gave him a scene to really feel his feelings that aren't just romantic or yearning for romance, although I love that side of him. I love that he's always a protector and physical fighter, but it also worries me because I don't really think he values himself very much and would gladly die for any of his friends. That's why I love Nancy and Robin immediately going in after him in the dive, because he is important and loved by all of them. He just doesn't realize it. I want him to realize it. And a little sad face. I also believe he had one of the best character arcs in the show ever. Like, you go from glory to glory with Steve and watch him grow and change and get better and better. I don't know how long we can stand this WGA strike. I already suffered through the 2006-2007 one, and we lost Pushing Daisies and Heroes as a result. That's right. I heard about those 2, yeah. And I'm still bitter about it. LOL. Thank you both for your wonderful little podcast and fun episode ideas.
I freaking loved Pushing Daisies.
I did too. I liked it.
I
Yeah.
loved that show. And I went.
It was like 1 season. Was it 1 season?
Oh yeah, and it had it had
Lee Pace and Kristen Chenoweth.
Yes. And the pies, and there was one pie that always sounded so good to me. It was like the pear and Gruyere cheese pie. And I made it. I found a recipe.
Ooh, fun.
Made it. It was so delicious. I don't know if it was the exact one, but it was good.
So we got another from Skipper Melody that you can do, but this is kind of her late one that we.
Yes. So Skipper says, "Hey, Colin and Whitney, let's hear it for the 21-year-olds. We are not old. You are absolutely not old.
Not at all.
A baby. Calm down, Margot." Back to the episode. Funniest moment since I missed Dustin talking about going for a little swim. Oh, nice swim. Robin and Steve's high scene. Dustin repeatedly mimed taking his shirt off in season 1 of Part 11. That's a good one. He's like, Steve and Dustin's handshake, and then Never Ending Story. Honorary, the interview with Joe and Gaten, where Joe said he was pregnant and Gaten was on the floor. I know it's not part of the show, but it is the funniest interview I've ever watched, and Joe and Gaten are great together.
They are so good.
Okay. Then the next one, she says, Steve Harrington. Biggest example of character development in the whole show. Him being a total douche in the first season, becoming the father of half the characters in Stranger Things is the wildest thing I've ever seen in a TV show for a character's development. His acceptance of Robin, along with his loyalty to not steal her secret, shows his absolute respect for Robin. And I love that. I want to know so badly what Max wrote for Steve. Do you think every episode of season 5 will be labeled Dear Blah Blank as we read out her letters? No, because the first one's called The Crawl.
That's true.
Maybe one could be.
Yeah.
Listen, if one comes out and it says Dear Steve, no, I'm not going to be okay, because I feel like that means he's going to die.
You're right. And she's reading a letter at the grave or something. Yeah.
No. And now I'm like second guessing myself. And the people in our Discord were like, Whitney, you don't sound as confident. And I'm like, no, I really don't think they're going to die. But then, I don't
Who
know.
knows? We're going to read into everything that everybody says. It's just yeah.
Right. And then finally she says the bat twirl in season 1,
Yeah.
which, yeah. P.S. Thank you to the people who've listened to my podcast. I just got out of school and I'm hoping to get back to it soon. See you on the flip side, Skipper Melody.
Absolutely. All right. Last one's from Audrey. Hi, Whitney and Colin. I'm Audrey from Texas. I'm yet another little. I love your pod. My top 5 things for Steve are: 1, he's a great friend, boyfriend, and parent. I ship Stancy. Number 2, he's always giving Dusty Bun hair tips. Number 3, he's always looking 100% hot and on point. He is with the Wayfarers and the members only jacket when he's in the junkyard.
Yeah. It's just unfair.
Yep. Number 4, he's brave and protects the kids. And number 5, he's a slaying ice cream scooper. I know this is late, another little Audrey. So there you go.
We love a little. Love a little. So next episode will be June 22nd. And we are doing an influence episode on Indiana Jones.
Yay!
3 films.
Because those are the only ones that matter. And they're all
Yes.
they're on Disney Plus in America. I don't know about overseas, but Disney Plus in America and Paramount Plus. I think they're on all of them. So
Yes.
I'm not gonna recap all 3. Like I know we kind of like when we recapped E.T. and the Goonies and stuff.
We'll just do the influences because
so we'll talk about
they're
them.
all, if you haven't seen those, they're they're similar. There's just like a different goal of the adventure every time, but the character remains the same.
Right.
I am a little bit nervous about the new one coming out.
And 2, I didn't love Crystal Skull.
Oh no,
so no,
it was Crystal Skull. It was terrible, but also I'm like, Harrison, you are 80.
Yeah,
you're 80, sir.
Yeah. But Last Crusade, I love. That's another one.
Oh yeah.
Whenever it's on, I'll just watch. Yeah.
Any of them,
even more than Raiders. But yeah, I mean, I love Last Crusade.
I like Raiders more, but it goes Raiders, Last Crusade, then
Temple of Doom.
But when I was little, Temple of Doom was my favorite because of all the bugs.
Right. So if you haven't seen them, I'm sure most of you have seen at least. Well, I don't.
Don't say that.
Probably not. Yeah, probably haven't seen a lot of them, but they're all good. They're all PG. Or 13, maybe. But the first 2 came out before there was PG-13.
But it was.
Because Temple of Doom is the one that started the whole PG-13 ball rolling. Because
it's nothing you haven't seen.
No, they're all fine to watch. So
they're very 80s.
They're all very good and very 80s, and filled with all kinds of Stranger Things influences. So yes, that'll be out on June 22nd. So get us your comments by Sunday, June 18th, and we will get them on and we will talk some indie.
Yes. So as always, you can find us on the socials. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and now Instagram, which I've kind of been slacking, but I can only do so much. But
just one person
at Scoops Ahoy Pod. If you want to email us, just whatever you want to talk about, you can put your email into the weekly list of possible emails that we won't read next week. And you can email us at scoopsahoypod@gmail.com.
And then we can do a whole episode on all the emails we did.
Maybe that's what we're doing, is we're saving them for when we don't have anything to talk about, because it's going to be 10 years before season 5 comes out. Anyways, if you like this podcast, we would love it if you leave us a review if you haven't already, especially on iTunes, because that helps us get in front of other listeners like yourself, and it gives us a little boost in the ratings over there. So as usual, I want to thank everybody for listening, and I hope you tune in next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Stranger Things audio clips and official score are the property of Netflix. Incidental music by Blue Mount Score from Pixabay.